We want to ultimately know that everything that's happening to us is happening for our highest good and for some sort of reasoning and lesson that is teaching us. And yet, does everything happen for a reason? Sometimes fate and free will get intermingled. And at times here, we might feel so disillusioned that we think that we don't have a choice. And that's what this week continues to show us, is that we do. We do have a choice, and we have some immense opportunities that are coming in 1 week from today. On next Sunday, we will have the official moment where Jupiter trines Pluto, and they are both in air signs. And we are just starting to take off on the rocket ship of our wildest dreams and imagination. And we will feel this energy building all week. I want you to think, first of all, on Sunday. Sunday is this Gemini sun that is quite chatty. We have Venus in Gemini. We have Jupiter in Gemini. There is a lot of new breaths of fresh air that are coming in. This is sparkly energy. This is butterfly energy. This is like we're ready to sort of move out into the world in a way and to expand our network and expand our capacity and expand our learning because of Jupiter's move into Gemini. Because it's Gemini season, this is like doubly impacted because Venus is there and Mercury will join these two sooner rather than later. And where we used to have, last week, 4 planets in Taurus, where Taurus is far more about being stuck and staying within something and being more internal and sticking to what it is that we want to do, Gemini starts to be like the winds of change are blowing. And that's what we're in right now. The winds of change are here. Now, it might not feel fully accessible right away. Jupiter just moved in here. Sunday, we still have a Capricorn moon that is quite grounded, down to earth, realistic, wanting to see action. This would be a great time for getting stuff done more around your home, having people to your home, being perhaps focusing a little bit more this weekend on work because there is a work hard, play hard activation happening here. And Sunday, we're wanting to catch the next step of that eclipse story that started to play out. Mars activates 19 degrees and 20 degrees of Aries, and that's where the eclipse happened on April 8th. So Mars coming along and triggering that eclipse degree is like we take a leap towards whatever it was that we started back in April, or either that or the leap takes us. It's not always that we are happening to the sky. The sky is happening to us. There are things that are happening in our lives. Depending on where Aries is for you, it might not be your doing necessarily, but you get to have your agency in how you respond and how you react. And you're really going to start to notice a pattern on Sunday of what is showing up as these planets come by and activate that eclipse point. So stay tuned in, stay, in a sense of being able to witness what this story is that's trying to come in. Now, the actual eclipse itself that happened April 8th took 4 hours, 12 minutes. And that means that it will take 4 years to truly play out for us. I'm just trying to remember something right now. Give me 1 second here. Okay, yes, it is. 4 hours, 12 minutes is the totality that took for that April 8th eclipse. And thus the story will continue to play out for about 4 years of our lives. But we're going to get a really good understanding of what is playing out when Mars comes on Sunday and activates that eclipse degree. So pay attention. Monday, we get the Gemini sun and that Capricorn moon for all day long. And this really does have us focused a little bit more than what we traditionally would be focused on normal, just Gemini energy. So I feel like we can get quite a bit done on Monday. It's also later in the evening, we're going to have Mercury sextile Saturn, but we'll feel it throughout the day. And this happens as the moon does move into Aquarius later in the evening. And this is really helpful for deep thinking, reflecting, clarifying things, maybe budgeting. Perhaps there is some financial conversations that need to happen with Mercury and Taurus. There might be some, if you just have a serious conversation to have, Monday evening may be a really good time to do it. Tuesday feels way more flitty. Okay, we have a Gemini sun, Aquarius moon. So the sun and the moon are in air. Okay, and when they're both in air, when both our luminaries are in air, there is a really far more outgoing and um, energy that's innovative, that's more about the exchange of ideas. We might want to be pitching something. This is like a day where you're on your phone all day, or you're talking to someone, you're leaving voice notes, you're listening to podcasts, allow the energy to settle, stay grounded during this kind of time, because now that we have Venus and Jupiter in Gemini too, we might just be like, whoa, overstimulated, overwhelmed, and really, really good time to make a list and knock things off one at a time. Really good time to count on nature and get out there barefoot on the paddleboard, wherever you can be, to sort of temper this energy, because it might feel like we're about to lift off on Tuesday. Those conversations where you have just like the most amazing conversation, and afterwards you're like high on life, on connection, on ideas. That's Tuesday. Okay. So just noticing where you're at with that and staying grounded as we can. We on Wednesday have an Aquarius moon as well throughout the day. And it is this energy that moves into Pisces later in the day. When we have an Aquarius moon to a Pisces moon, we feel it. There's this shift from that air heady space that is happening into more of our feelings, right? We get a water moon. And so it shifts us a little bit more deeply into our feeling sense, into our imagination. It might be good to be like, by Wednesday at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I need to take some time, to just like have a nice, sweet, gentle bath, have a little bit of a break. And the energy on Wednesday is quite tender, because Mars, who just activated that eclipse degree, is coming to form a conjunction with Chiron, the wounded healer, at 10 a.m. at 22 degrees, rounding up 23 degrees of Aries. So this could be a day where there's a lot of like tender energy, where things are happening that are activating some of your pain body, whether that's physical, emotional, spiritual. It sort of depends on where Aries is in your chart. And this is a day where it's like people are just saying what it is that they need to say, whether that's healing or not. But you might be also noticing that there is a healing that is occurring on all subjects related to the masculine. You might be healing your relationship with fathers, brothers, anyone in your life who holds that masculine essence, that structure for you. There might be a chance here to go deeper than you thought you could, or than you thought what was available to you. It could go the other way, and you might see some separation occurring at this point, where you've just finally had enough and you want to revisit. March and April, we had Mercury with Chiron 3 times because of that Mercury retrograde. And so if you think back to April and think back to some of the conversations that you were having around individuation, or having your own personal agency, having your own free will, being able to advocate for yourself or for others, maybe you have had some conversations that are really strong around relationship to others and relationship to self. And as those conversations happened with Mercury, when Mars comes along, he sort of severs. He creates the change that we're looking for, and it could be that it's like, we're not going to talk about that anymore. We're going to move forward, and here's how we're going to move forward. Here's the strategy to move forward. Or it could be literally like, we can't go back to that anymore, and we have to find a new way forward that is more individual. This is a strong energy around the balance between codependency and interdependency. How do we get interdependent in our relationships? How do we get to a space where we can care and have empathy for others, Pisces moon, and we can also really deeply and fiercely know that it's not our job to teach anyone, to train anyone, to do anyone else's emotional or physical labor, that we are here to individuate and have a healthy sense of autonomy in our lives. We want to have autonomy over what we do, where we live, how we live there, who we live with. We want to have autonomy over our days, and do we get to spend our days doing what we love? We want to have financial autonomy, whether it's as a family or independently. And I am a strong believer that every woman should have a, bank account of her own and be able to be funding her life in some way. This is kind of the energy that is happening here. It's like, how do we do that, but then also stay connected, Pisces moon? How can we find the balance between those two pieces of life? And we don't want to over individuate either. That is what capitalism tells us to do. But we are here to really, at this moment with Mars and Chiron in Aries, we're here to find out who the heck we are and to be able to pursue that. So if that is the goal and that's what's being supported by the cosmos on a grander scale, that Pisces moon might just help you to do it in a way that is more compassionate and a little bit more empathetically. Later in the day, or let's say Thursday at some point in the day, mid-afternoon, depending, of course, on your time zone, we get our third quarter moon in Pisces. So the sun is in Gemini and the moon is in Pisces. And these two come together at 9 degrees and 46 arc minutes of Pisces and Gemini. So if you have anything between 8 and 12 degrees of the mutable signs, you're going to feel this one. This is endings. Okay. This is the third quarter moon. It's the last moon in the moon family. So there was a story that started in the Pisces part of your chart back with the new moon on March 2nd, 2022. I know this is like, it's a lot to go back, but we just love it because, if you go back to March of 2022, what was starting for you around Pisces in your chart or just in your life? What was the theme that was happening around that time? That was a big Pisces energetic because in April of 2022, we had the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. And if you were around Wild Sky Sisters, my sister, Ange, came to Kelowna and we held a workshop up at the AIM Center in the Upper Mission, just this most beautiful center, sacred space. Our mom was there. Ange did a shamanic journey for us, and we all were, really coming through with our wildest dreams. We were setting new intentions for our wildest, most creative, most fertile, most healing, most romantic, most visionary dreams. So this new moon happened just prior to that, and it would have been a seed that was started around that time. And we are coming to the end of the first part of that story for Jupiter Neptune. So we're coming to the sextile, or we just went through the sextile last week, which is like, okay, cool. That was the dream then, but now it has to change and shift so that we can get to the next layer of it. If you go back to the full moon that happened August 31st, 2023, so just this last August, you might get a hint because that was the full moon in this moon family. Something sort of peaked, culminated, this moment of like whatever it was. And now that energy is waning. And this third quarter moon really to me speaks of release, endings, let go, let God, let it go so that it can come back around in 9 months when we start with this new moon in the same part of the sky in a new and more elevated way. This is like we need to shake off this frequency so we can get to the next